Good morning, Smogon. I'm Radu, and I'm here joined by zioziotrip, looking at some SVOU. Welcome, Zio.
Hello, it's
Hello.
me, zioziotrip.
It is him. We're here watching oldspicemike versus Nat. This is a game that happened in week 2 of SPL. It happened pretty early, so we're able to cover it midweek. And Nat, I'm pretty sure, is 1-0 from week 1, and Mike is 0-1. And we're looking to see some interesting SVOU. I already see an Entei on preview, which is not something I usually expect in SVOU. What do you think?
Entei's very unusual. It's not. I don't. It's probably its first appearance in any official, besides as gouging fire, which was banned recently.
Yeah.
I think the general idea is that it's kind of difficult to come by on fairy resists on balance, which is what Nat is running. It's a more balanced team.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Pult and Val, but those are both capable of being kind of pivot utility mons. And like Pekka resists fairy, but a lot of fairy mons run earth power.
Mm-hmm.
But Entei can at least threaten them back, whereas Peck just kind of falls over.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't mind the matchup Entei gets in this game. It feels like you can like burn a lot of stuff, and it's really hard to switch into. Like,
Yeah,
ever.
Entei kind of high rolls here. There's no fire resist at all on Mike's team. There's not even like a fake one. So every time like Entei hits the field, Sacred Fire is just gonna be have to rolled.
Yeah.
And Tusk is one of the mons on the team actually capable of taking Sacred Fires, has to risk the burn.
It's likely that it's gonna force a Terra once from something. Not sure what though.
I think, assuming it's not Eruption, Great Tusk should do a good enough job at least scaring it out, but it will over time fail, just because it's inevitably going to get burned on one of the switch-ins. It's a 50% fall. This matchup looks a little poor for Mike, but assuming you can get the Entei out of the way, the Curum and Namcor looks very scary.
Yeah.
This Peck has a low chance of taking on both of them.
Curum can always be scary to Entei with Skull Shot too. It's not. But I guess we'll see. Let's start watching, see what happens. Good lead from Nat too. But it's not Boost or Valiant, which is like, yeah, it seems. What is this?
It's probably Boots. Looking at the team, there's no removal on that side, and this is more of a balanced composition. It's most likely Boots.
Yeah. We see Entei come in right away. And the Sacred.
Yeah, okay, immediate Sacred burn.
Yeah.
This is the fear with Great Tusk being the check to Entei. It is a 50% chance to burn. You're slightly favored because of the missed chance, but still, very high chance to burn.
All right, hazards go up.
Which is nice because I mean, there's no ice resist on Nat's team besides Entei. Which, if you don't know if Curum is scale shot, Entei is unable to switch into it quite yet. But
and
it is a clipped ice beam.
40% ice beam. Damn.
I'm pretty sure that's just Entei being RU Pokemon and Curum being an overused Pokemon.
Yeah. What do you think? Who do you think is the advantage in this position right now? Because like the Entei got chipped decently heavily. It did get the burn on Tusk.
Entei's entered again, and Tusk is already taking a Sacred, and it's burned. And this is where Entei wants to get in on, is the Ice move. Run Entei because of its natural resistances. And it's going to get to throw off a Sacred. Hitting Curum would be really good because it's one of the bigger threats to your team. Hitting Tuscan would be fine since it's burned. Pekka walls it.
Yeah,
which is funny to think about, but it actually spin block Tusk now because it's burned.
And having the Tusk burned and spin lock is really bad because I think one of the ways you have to make progress is in Amorous has like a really good matchup, especially with Entei chip, but having to take rocks, assuming it's the Scarf set, could be something else. But I feel like Mike has had a chance to do a lot with in Amorous, still has, but the rocks are gonna be like a big setback.
Yeah, the good thing is genuinely if you trade Entei HP, you want Entei HP in this position because it helps an Amorous out a lot.
Yeah,
and Amorous is one of your win cons.
Yeah, would you stay in with Curum here for that purpose?
I think I would stay. I don't think Tusk accomplishes anything because you get no damage on. Get immediately forced out by Pekka and Dragon Bolt, both of which you really don't want to let in. You kind of have an awkward time switching into both. I mean, Corv is like your dragon and poison resist. but it's going to have to take a status or take a parting, neither of which are very good. I think in this position, you just stay in with Curum and hit it again. Presumably, that's specs damage.
Yeah, and
Curum.
it does. Another burn. We're 2 for 2. This is a lucky Ascente, but we get a freeze. Balances out.
Okay, now this is a little weird because Sacred Fire thaws, so Nat's going to click it again.
Yeah.
But they could have potentially swapped out, although it's unclear if they would have. Anyways, because there's still no switch into Entei, which is...
Yeah, but we see an Amorous.
An Amorous is going to come in and claim it's killed Moonblast.
Yeah.
Going Peck this early is really ambitious, because if you take an Earth Power, which is perfectly reasonable to click against Entei, you're in a really bad position.
But you do have the Zapdos in the back, so... we see Volt Switch on Zap, the King Gambit being taken out. The King Gambit has the Zapdos answer. Did Mike just not have anything better? I guess.
Well, the ground... I mean, Zapdos is difficult to answer for offense, but it was probably a combination of the fact that if you have Tusk, you can block Volt and then go hard Gambit on flying move. Or you can just, if Kyurem is healthy enough, you can just go Kyurem on Zapdos. But Kyurem at this point is at half, and it may be taking rocks as well, so it'd be closer to like.
Do you think Kyurem, like keeping the HP on Kyurem, was more valuable? Because I feel like King Gambit, depending on Terra, could still be good into the remaining guy. You have a Dragapult, you have Petron.
The thing about King Gambit here is that one, it doesn't really need HP because the only thing that actually threatens it, Valiant, is going to threaten it no matter what HP it's at. And Dragapult and Peckrunt, which it kind of walls, don't do meaningful damage to it. They do like 20, assuming it's status and with Hex. So it's not... King Gambit HP is not super valuable. You're going to get forced out here, but being forced out into Corv is fine. Corv just gets the turn on something because presumably you're not going to keep Val in.
Yeah.
If you do, you won't be making a ton of progress.
So would you double here as Nat to maybe use Zapdos? Because I feel like that's hard to punish as well.
Yeah, that would have been something safe because, I mean, if King Gambit stays in, you take a Kowtow for like 40 or 50. I don't know the exact roll. It's not too bad. But it's kind of concerning if the King Gambit stays in Terras and like tries to attack Val with Terra Fairy Blast or Iron Head. So the safe play is just to stay in and hit this.
Yeah, I guess. It's just, to me, I feel like when you have this advantage, I guess you are risking it in a way, but then you can get an even bigger lead and just secure the game as early. And it's not an unplayable position. You can always get get out of it.
Back to Zap is fine. I don't think staying in was unreasonable either, but back to Zap could have forced something weird. The thing is that if they Volt with, I don't think Corv actually takes enough to care.
I see.
It just gets volted on and roosts. You don't know if it's mixed def at this point, and if it's mixed def, it's going to take nothing.
You can always go hard Entei on it on the Volt.
Hard Entei is really ambitious because if Gambit Terras, then you 100% just lose your Entei.
No, what I mean is you Volt on the Corvi and then go Entei. And I feel like that's like not punishable.
Yeah, that's fine.
We'll see. There's still the
trades down for Entei at that point, but I guess that's valuable, especially if you burn it.
Yeah. There's always the Ogerpon in the back. Let's see. Let's keep going. And it does go. Nat does go. Back Zapdos.
This is kind of the bad case, but I guess staying in and CCing doesn't actually help either.
Yeah. So it covers that too. But now the King Gambit is no longer a Petron counter, and is there even a Petron counter at all? I guess Corvi?
Corv walls it unless this gets burnt. But it's probably going to get burnt by the Pult here.
Yeah.
Now that rocks are off, I did pause for a sec.
Yeah.
Defog Corv is really unusual in this metagame because Goldango blocks it. And if you're reliant on Defog Corv and you run into a Goldango, you're just never going to get removal off.
Especially because I feel like this team doesn't even have that great of a matchup into Goldango.
It's the idea is definitely that in Goldango matchups that Tusk is your supplementary spinner, and that's probably fine. I think the general idea is that if you play Peckrunt, you're probably not playing Peckrunt and Goldango, and if you're playing Goldango, the same applies. So you can spin with Tusk. It's kind of like a double facet removal, which is cool because Ogerpon, Kyurem, and Inam all kind of struggle with hazards.
Yeah. And I feel like it's been a trend with like Kyurem having a harder time shining as of recent, just because it's not as easy to take those hazards off with hazards with Tusk being spun blocked by Balloon Goldango, by Petrunt, and just not being able to use defog at all. So I feel like Mike really had a nice idea here with defog Corviknight. Knight.
Yeah, double removal is becoming a lot more popular, especially on these Curum structures. I know Storm Zone has been running those for a while. Ladder, like Cinderace plus Tusk or Cinderace plus Fog Corv to just stay with hazards off the entire game. So it's very interesting to see that actually brought to SPL because it's been common on ladder for a little bit.
I see. Let's keep playing. Alright, we see the Earth Power on Entei because at this point there's no switch-ins. With Zapdos gone.
This reveals Ice Punch, which is presumably for Gliscor, or it hits Lando and Gliscor. It's a little unusual. On these sets, you usually just see Moonblast, CC, Knock.
Yeah.
In this position now, Encores into Roost. I don't think this is not going to cause much because Corv Roost on literally everything, and it's going to continue to do this until it gets a U-turn safely into presumably Enamorous. Because Enamorous at this point is Scarf, and it should scare out Val. This is the fun Encore stalling part of the replay.
Yeah.
Here's a hard Gambit because it's not actually threatened out, or but like you can scroll over the Val set and it's completely walled by Valiant. Unfortunately, King Gambit gets paralyzed there. Kowtow would have picked up a kill. Yeah. Or would have killed Pekarunt, but Pekarunt would have been left pretty low. And if Pekarunt is left low, then you just click Moonblast 3 times and win the game.
We see good Terra Flying.
Terra Flying Valiant comes out, blocks the Enamorous from clicking Earth Power into Peck. Flying is not super unusual. I mean, flying just gets you an immunity, and that's why you run it. That's what it's meant to do.
And it worked.
It's usually Ghost or Flying on those sets.
Terrifying another paralysis on King Gambit.
Now the position's kind of weird because Gambit still wins, but you've lost a lot of HP on Corviknight. The next time it comes in, it's dead. And so your reliable switch into Peck is now gone. As we just saw, it took a Hex, and then oldspicemike roosted because he didn't want to roost to get on the Val and just lose a bunch of momentum. Because if it's burnt body press, it's not killing Val on the switch, and you need to U-turn there.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of awkward because Gambit has to go hero mode. But luckily, now that Valiant is no longer a fairy type, Kowtow just picks up one. Halt doesn't do enough damage to this. If Gambit stays at enough HP, it can live a Peck Malignant Chain. But it's kind of a weird turn here because do you try to trade Halt for HP on Gambit to put it in Malignant range? Because if you Hex and you get suckered, you just totally lose. Because now you've lost on with no progress. But if you switch out hard into Peck on Sucker, you have a good chance. But it's kind of a rough turn because going Peck or Val on the Sucker is really risky.
What would you do?
I'd just stay in Hex. It's kind of 50-50, but you just got to make a call.
You always got the paralysis chance as well. And I feel like
you just get bailed even if you get wrong.
If you get the paralysis, staying in and hexing is the play that will make the most progress.
Even if you switch Val and Gambit gets paralyzed, you don't actually capitalize on it, and you just lose them on because since it's paralyzed, you can't encore it into anything. So even if you do make the Sucker call, there's a chance it doesn't accomplish anything. Yeah.
Let's see.
So I think you kind of have to just Hex here.
And it did, and that did, and he gets the paralysis. Really unfortunate.
But this turn, he makes the call.
Yeah. I feel like it balances out.
That's a good call from Mike. Very disciplined.
I feel like it's easy to lose your cool at that point.
Yeah, with 2 paras. If either of those paras didn't happen, it would probably be an immediate win.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kyurem at this point cleans up. Valiant will be able to sweep because the Ogerpon is still at full HP, and it's very bulky. Ogerpon did not do much this game, but it came in the end.
Yeah.
It was a fun game. Entei put in a lot of work. There was a bit of fortune on both sides. The early Ruination miss made it a bit difficult to position Entei than it should have been, but the paralysis would have also just won the game. So I don't know, such as Pokemon.
Yeah. Do you think we're gonna see more Entei in the following weeks? I feel like it had a
I
good
think
matchup, but losing.
this is probably a one-off thing.
Yeah.
This Entei's an interesting idea, but it kind of its stats just kind of struggle.
Yeah.
And it can really get stonewalled by some fire resist like opposing Dragapult.
Yeah, I do feel like the E-speed that you also get is really good in this meta. I feel like you really like the priority. I feel like Dragonite sees a lot of usage, especially because of that E-speed that can pick up a lot of KOs or put things in range. So I feel like it was an interesting bring also because of that.
Yeah, extreme. I mean, I think this meta in general is going to see a lot of shift towards priority spam, even on slower teams. I mean, not that it hasn't already. This generation, in a lot of ways, is molded by priority.
Yeah, we've seen Vacuum Wave on Valiant quite a few times, despite being like even on like very speedy sets.
The key names are, of course, King Gambit, Clicking Sucker, and Raging Bull, Clicking Thunderclap, and the aforementioned Dragonite. Dragonite especially is starting to pick up a lot. It's incredibly strong on top of everything else. It has a lot of defensive benefit. I think that's where Entei kind of falls behind on Dragonite. It has some interesting defensive pieces, but
yeah, Dragonite also had, like the multi-scale in the typing, it makes you really good, especially into like Ogerpon is really hard to check right now, and having that Dragonite is really nice to just take those cudgels, take those whips, and Entei really cannot do that.
Yeah, and Entei serves a purpose, but it's kind of an edge case. It's an interesting idea, but we'll see if it gets replicated the rest of the season.
Alright, thank you so much for joining me to watch this game. I hope to have you again for more replays in the future.
Of course.
Alright.
This is a fun replay.
Yeah. Bye-bye.